In 1997, a Green Beret with Vietnam combat experience was sworn in as the 19th Director of the Secret Service.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Those words from President John F. Kennedy, spoken on 20 January 1961, instilled a sense of duty in a young Louis C. Merletti. Louis Merletti was born on 1 July 1948 and grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. On 22 November 1963, while Merletti was a sophomore in high school, another tragic event inspired him to become a Secret Service agent. That event was the assassination of the same president who inspired Merletti just a few years earlier, President John F. Kennedy. After high school, Merletti felt the need to test himself before continuing school and joining the Secret Service, and that test was Vietnam. In 1967, Merletti joined the Army and attended basic training, then went to airborne school at Fort Benning, Georgia. During jump school, Merletti volunteered for Special Forces.
Who are you? How far? I'll get part of it. Well, you always do, Mike.
With jump school completed, Merletti went to Fort Bragg to start Special Forces training. Merletti was trained as a light weapons and medical sergeant, then went to language school to learn Vietnamese.
I'm cross-trained as a medic and weapons. I speak French and Vietnamese.
His training lasted approximately 16 months. After earning his Green Beret, Merletti joined the 7th Special Forces Group and wanted to go to Vietnam. Like most Green Berets wanting to go to Vietnam, Merletti traveled to the Pentagon to speak with Billy Alexander to speed up his orders process. During a 3-day weekend, Merletti hitchhiked to the Pentagon where he met Mrs. A. Mrs. A found his orders on her desk and told Merletti he will be in Vietnam in August. After arriving in Vietnam, Merletti was sent to a Special Forces training camp and then sent to an A-team with 5th Group. A typical day in Vietnam for him was providing medical assistance to Central Intelligence Agency-funded CIDG soldiers who were indigenous to the area of Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. At night, Merletti and other Green Berets would take CIDG soldiers out on extended patrols or ambushes. Once his tour in Vietnam was complete, Merletti came back to the United States, where he attended Duquesne University. He graduated from Duquesne in 1973 and in 1974 was hired by the Secret Service. At first, Merletti attended Treasury law enforcement training and then attended Secret Service training. A little history about the Secret Service. It was formed on 5 July 1865, and their main job was to investigate counterfeit currency, safeguarding the financial system of the United States. The Secret Service did not have anything to do with presidential protection until 1901, after President McKinley was assassinated. Being the Secret Service was under the Treasury Department until 2003, when it was transferred under the Department of Homeland Security umbrella. Merletti started his career investigating forged and stolen Treasury checks in Philadelphia. Once Merletti got some experience investigating Treasury check fraud, he was transferred to counterfeit currency investigations. At this time, counterfeit currency was produced by organized crime. It took some skill to make dies and use a printing press to produce good counterfeit currency. Merletti spent a total of 5 years conducting investigations in Philly and then transferred to the New York office. On 30 March 1981, while working counterfeit investigations at the New York Secret Service office, John Hinckley Jr. shot 6 rounds in less than 2 seconds trying to assassinate President Reagan. One of those 6 rounds ricocheted off the presidential limo and entered President Reagan through his armpit as he was pushed into the limousine. The round stopped just short of hitting his heart. Secret Service agent Tim McCarthy took a round in the abdomen trying to shield President Reagan. D.C. police officer Thomas Delahunty and White House press secretary James Brady were also hit. This was also the first time the general public saw the specialized weapons carried by the Secret Service, as agents deployed Uzis during the response. During this incident, the SOP for the Secret Service was to shield the president and evacuate them to safety. However, these tactics were going to change. After Reagan's assassination attempt, the Secret Service established the Counter-Assault Team. The CAT team's objective was to augment the Presidential Protective Division's mission by engaging the threat through violence of action and overwhelming firepower, while the PPD secured the president. With his Special Forces background, Merletti was one of the few agents selected for the start of the CAT team and transferred from New York to Washington, D.C. to start training. CAT team training involves small unit tactics including close quarters battle and a high proficiency in marksmanship. Team members had to be shooters and trained with U.S. military Tier 1 units such as Delta Force and SEAL teams. In 1982, Merletti completed CAT training. He was the 7th agent assigned to the CAT team and was given the number 007. After working with the CAT team, Merletti was transferred to PPD during Reagan's presidency. Merletti started as a shift agent and then to a shift lead, which allowed him to use his experience and leadership to make changes in the tactics used by the PPD. Merletti felt the old tactics were dangerous and outdated and wanted presidential protection to be ran more like military operations. During his time on the PPD, Merletti was given some advice from a former special agent in charge. That agent was Clint Hill. For those of you who don't know, Agent Hill was the agent who ran to the convertible and covered Mrs. Kennedy after JFK was shot. The advice Agent Hill told Merletti was, "You cannot be afraid to tell the president no." This was due to the fact President Kennedy wanted to remove the roof from the car and remove Secret Service agents from the presidential limousine that tragic day in Dallas. Merletti rose quickly through the ranks of the PPD. At the end of Reagan's administration, he was an assistant special agent in charge and continued this role through the Bush administration. During the Clinton administration, Merletti was promoted to deputy special agent in charge and then to special agent in charge. Merletti was the 22nd person in the history of the Secret Service to hold the position of special agent in charge of the PPD. In November 1996, President Clinton took a trip to the Philippines. As special agent in charge of PPD, Merletti accompanied Clinton on this trip. As Air Force One landed in Manila, Merletti was briefed by a Secret Service intelligence agent and was informed Manila had become dangerous. As Air Force One landed, Merletti received a coded message: "There is a wedding across the bridge." With the information Merletti was given, he made a command decision to use the alternate route taking the president to the hotel in Manila. As President Clinton's motorcade traveled the alternate route from the airport to the hotel, a bomb was discovered under a bridge located on the primary route the motorcade was going to first take. An investigation was conducted on this attempt by Central Intelligence Agency Alec Station. Alec Station, otherwise known as Bin Laden Issue Station, was operated by the agency from 1996 until 2005 and was dedicated to tracking Osama Bin Laden and his associates. Alec Station determined the bomb was planted by Osama Bin Laden. This was one of Bin Laden's earliest attempts to attack the United States. In June of 1997, Louis Merletti became the 19th Director of the United States Secret Service, a position he would serve on until March 1999. Although Merletti retired from government work, he still kept busy. Merletti became a Senior Vice President for Security for the Cleveland Browns, a position he would have from 1999 until 2011. More information on Louis Merletti is available on the 239 podcast and the book Surprise Kill Vanish by Annie Jacobson. Links for both can be found in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Trash Panda Actual out.